I'm going to tell you about a dream that I had that I believe can be applied to everybody that is part of the remnant bride. Here's the dream. I had been working at this company for a day or so, and I barely knew my way around. I didn't know what the company did because in the dream, the second or third day I was there is when the dream started. My husband showed up because he was working there as well, and I was pleased that he was working with me so we could drive together, which would be especially helpful during the winter months. He started a few days after me. So I began to show him around the building, and I told him that the layout was like a number 8, with the long hallways on the outside like an 8. At this point, though, I couldn't remember if we had entered at the beginning of the building or the end. One of the people that worked there had just changed her name to Katrina Jupiter. My husband and I attended a quick meeting where, pardon me, I'm trying to talk loud over my furnace. This is not part of the dream because it's freezing in the house. It's like 2 outside, and I know we don't have it as bad as some people, but it is cold. Okay, so let me start again. One of the people that worked there had just changed her name to Katrina Jupiter. My husband and I attended a quick meeting where the woman in charge was upset, and she was complaining about Katrina's name change, although the leader herself had changed her last name to Jupiter as well. I was going to mention that to her, but I thought better of it and kept quiet. I don't know what Katrina's former name was, and I don't think it was important. I then showed my husband the cafeteria, which was amazing with food. They had everything and every color of food, desserts galore, even M&Ms, which I love. You could eat there at any time of the day, or just grab food and go back to your desk. And I knew that I had a desk position and that my husband would be working in the mechanical area. Earlier, I had passed an area where there was even an advertisement for my daughter's employment. This is where she works now. It was not part of the dream other than there was an advertisement of her workplace. As I showed my husband more of the building, we came to this mechanical area, and I looked at my husband, and he was wearing a worn white t-shirt with cut-off sleeves. I could tell he was ready to get down to business, and he looked a whole lot younger. Pardon me. As we walked into one large garage area, I saw huge tractors on the right, and I knew my husband would work in that area. Now, this is the funny part. The supervisor of the area was John Walton, and I'll go into that in a minute. That's all I recall of the dream. Now, before I give the interpretation, I do want to encourage those of you that post dreams to pray about them first and ask the Lord to reveal interpretations for you. Sometimes I watch videos where people are very quick to post their dreams, and then they ask everybody else to chime in with their thoughts. Now, if you feel God gives you a divine dream, then pray about it and wait upon the Lord, because you will be amazed at some of the thoughts as well as confirmations that you receive regarding your dream. Then when you present it, you can let others know to encourage them instead of guessing about what things mean. Okay, so here's the interpretation of the dream. And it's been several days and I've prayed about it, and I discovered that throughout the day, I'll think of something about the dream, and then I just have this thought of what it actually means. And I believe that is God letting me know what it means in the dream. We just need to wait on Him and pray about these things. And one of the things that I learned from John Paul Jackson about dream interpretation is don't look at the details of the dream so much as what stands out to you. For example, it wasn't that my daughter's specific workplace stood out. It was just that it was an advertisement and it made me think of my daughter. Okay, so let's go into actual interpretation. As far as the transformation, I think the beginning was the transformation. I was new at this job, and I feel it begins our transformation. I knew the employment had office jobs as well as mechanical in an area or a shop, so it represents many jobs. The building was shaped like an 8. Well, 8 in gematria signifies a new beginning, being born again, circumcision on the 8th day, eternity, infinity. You get the picture. This building was from God and also confirms that transformation is in play. If you recall, I could not even remember if my husband and I entered the beginning at the front or the back. So to me, that's another confirmation of the eternity. It's just, God's in charge of this building. My husband also looked younger, so we were in our transformed bodies. I began the job first, as I am one of the called out ones, yet he too will be working during the harvest, which is interpreted, the harvest is interpreted by seeing those tractors in the building. They were all lined up to the right, so perhaps this means that my husband will be helping from the get-go, because they weren't out in the field, they were ready to go. I don't know. That's just my guess there. I do know that if you've read Lisa's visions, God showed her a vision at one point where she actually saw my husband watching my body changing. So I think that is probably going to be the same for everyone during the 3 days of darkness. Your family members or who's ever in the house with you will see you going through some kind of transformation. Might even be before 3 days of darkness. That's iffy. We don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so the name Katrina Jupiter. This is a very odd name, even if it's in a dream. Katrina, I felt the need to look up the two words. Katrina means pure or a virgin. But before you think she's one of the 5 wise virgins, let's look at her last name, Jupiter. According to one dictionary, in Roman mythology, Jupiter was the chief god of the Roman state religion, originally a sky god associated with thunder and lightning. It's also the largest planet in our solar system, and it's the pivotal planet, which is was also known as the planets were known as wandering stars in Old Testament times. But in Revelation 12, we know that this Jupiter has a pivotal part, and we will see this on September 23rd this year. Because of this, I feel that these Jupiter people in the dream, they represent a false bride of Satan. They know, we know that they too will glow to a certain extent. They will look younger. They will have false miracles, or at least miracles that aren't permanent, much like now. And if you're curious about that, you can read more about false healings from Joanna Michelson. She's written some books about that. As for the youthful appearance of these people of light, they will also promote their DNA change products like cosmetics and medicines that will fix and heal all kinds of things. This points to the mark of the beast, as I'm sure all will need that chip in order to purchase or receive these things and allow them to change their DNA. We think of the harvest as being full of calamity and chaos, upheavals in the earth and the sky, and that is what I believe. So these aliens, aka the fallen angels, they're going to show up and then try to save the day, although they will actually cause more death than they save. I believe this is the greatest time of deception for Christians during the harvest itself. And here's another thought that I've had lately. Now, this is just my speculation, but most of us called out bride and most Christians think that the rapture is based around the Feast of Trumpets. So if the aliens show up then with their fake God at the Feast of Trumpets, how deceptive and clever would that be? Christians already expect something to be happening then. Some of us do as well. Well, we certainly do because of the Revelation 12 sign. And I would be willing to bet that by September 23rd, the world will be expecting something in the sky, because by then the news will have spread about Revelation 12, whether people believe it or not. They will be looking up. So what a perfect time for deception. Okay, so back to the dream. This false bride, Katrina Jupiter, and her co-workers will be causing problems, even arguments among themselves, like they did in the dream and like they do today. Now, the Lord has already told us through our messengers to keep to ourselves unless he specifically tells us to confront these beings once they are in the harvest. So I think that's why I kept quiet in my dream. Now, let's go on to the cafeteria. This was fantastic. I remember passing 3 cooks on my left and looking at their food in wonder, knowing without a doubt it would be terrific, even though it was just workplace food. Again, this points to God supplying all our needs during this time, no matter what kind of harvest worker we are. Now, the family, my husband had been transformed to look younger, so he was a healthy worker in this harvest. He was wearing white, because if you've listened to my other videos, you will know that I believe we are not the only bride. We're just a remnant part of the bride. His wearing of white confirms that for me. My daughter, too, has had dreams of wearing a white wedding dress and meeting someone with an unknown face at the altar. However, and this is important in my dream as well, in one of her dreams, she stops at a ramp right before going up to the aisle. Then suddenly, she's at the altar. Now, in my dream, I saw an advertisement for employment. People, I think she's going to be a martyr in this upcoming harvest, and that is hard for me to say. But even she has said as much. Now, it will be an honor for them as they will have special rewards, the martyrs, for doing this. And it is difficult for me to admit, but the Lord has been showing me this for quite some time. And I felt I should pass it along to you, as I know you are concerned about loved ones as well. What's going to happen to them? We don't know, but the one thing we can know is that whatever our family and friends will do will be fulfilling their purpose as assigned by God long ago, just like we are doing now. My husband, too, though right now he is still in the yawning phase when I talk about this stuff. But in the dream, he's young and virile and ready to help. And his supervisor is John Walton. Now, if you know, we had a TV show here in the United States called The Waltons. So you can look that up and find out more. But I feel that in the dream, the reason for this John Walton figure was more of an angel. I was led to look up John Walton's character online. And so what it said was, quote, although he looks gruff on the surface, he has an extremely deep love for his family and Walton's Mountain and gets defensive if either one becomes threatened. Despite this, John is relatively laid back and usually lets his children make decisions for themselves, much to his wife's chagrin. He pushes his children to pursue whatever they want, even if that's not what he wanted for them. John is extremely hardworking and believes jobs should be finished once they're started and does not want any of his children goofing off when there's work to be done. John is not as religious as the rest of the family, and he usually stays home from church on Sundays. Okay, now I find that really funny because I can see why most angels would frown on churches these days. Anyway, to wrap this up, I do feel that during the harvest, we won't be the only workers. There will be other Christians that may not be part of the remnant bride because even now, you know, those who aren't watching like we are. Perhaps a little bit, but they're not dedicated in their relationship to Christ like we are. We are just hungering for him all the time to the point where we don't want to go to work or school or even outside the home because it takes our focus off him. But we are occupying until he comes, so that's what we do. Now, we also know, and not just from this dream, that there will be a false bride, and those whose sole focus is to deceive other people into thinking the aliens are their friends. It may be some of our jobs to reveal these false beings, or our job may be to heal or bring others into a Goshen area. Most of us don't know what our jobs will be, but they will be perfect, and we will be indestructible while doing them. It's possible that we will do some things with family members, perhaps even those in the spirit who have died before us. If you've read Lisa's visions, you will see more about this. I'll put the link below. I hope this dream has been an encouragement to you. If you're interested in how your own family or friends may end up, I encourage you to ask God to show you. He's for us, right? So he will let you know. The thing you have to do is to keep your eyes and your ears open because his methods in showing you this are not our methods, and you will be surprised at how he shows you and confirms this for you. God bless you today, and I hope to see you all soon.